Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. This week's Chakra Chat is one that I have been manifesting for some time. I am fascinated by this subject, and I am really lucky to have found an absolute expert, a master in her field. So today I'm talking to Meena Jagpal-Paré, who is a Feng Shui master, an energy alignment expert. And we are going to talk about how we can align our energies in our homes, in our environments, how they relate to the chakras. And yeah, I'm just generally really excited to learn as much as I possibly can from Meena. And I should also probably precede this with an apology because I've got a very personal interest in this because I'm renovating a house currently. And so I'm going to pick your brains for my own personal benefit, but hopefully it benefits everybody as well. So Meena, thank you so much for joining me today.
It is my pleasure. It's an honor to connect. Chakra alignment is also very near and dear to me. It's part of my meditation, part of my grounding, not just grounding my energy, but grounding the space's energy as well. So thank you, Roseanne, for the opportunity.
Yeah, you are more than welcome, Meena. I'm really excited to talk to you. And as a Feng Shui master, this is not just somebody who practices, but you are a master. So how long have you been studying and practicing with Feng Shui? What's your background with it?
Yes, I'll try to make this long real life story short. Unofficially 28 years since my youngest was born, my son. Somehow I stumbled across a coffee table book. And to this day, I don't know where I got it. Back then, we didn't have Chapters or the major book chains. We definitely didn't have Google to turn to whenever our minds were curious. So I picked up a large coffee table book on Feng Shui, and I'm Indian background. We grow up in this environment: spirituality, astrology, numerology, all of those modalities. So I think it was just naturally the next extension.
Mhm.
And to this day, I have the book. Life happened, different houses, different life scenarios, but that book stayed with me.
Wow.
And I was a flight attendant for 20 years. So I would go back and come back and visit my dad, who lived very close to me, and have tea with him and share my fascination about my trips, but mostly about feng shui. How, I was noticing different things. I was practicing it in my family and friends' homes as well. And close to 10 years ago, I lost my father. And to this day, I truly believe that he's my guiding spirit that said, okay, Meena, enough talking about feng shui. You need to take it to the next level. And then I started to look around what exactly is feng shui more than what I knew, and realized that just like some of the other Eastern modalities, it's been brought to the West and simplified. There's Western Feng Shui, there's BTB, there's Black Sect, there's many other types of it. Just like as you're aware, Roseanne, that meditation, yoga, Ayurveda, all that originated in India, and Reiki originated in Japan, just like that Feng Shui originated in China. And over the years, it's been simplified or modified, for lack of other words. And the Indian in me, or maybe just the Meena in me, it wouldn't allow me to take shortcuts. And then I sourced out, okay, what exactly is traditional feng shui? And I came across International School of Feng Shui in Ireland. I registered with them in their in-person training in San Diego. Then I created a practicum with one of the major instructors in the organization, and did practicum on 5 different types of homes and businesses: a house with a regular size house in the Western world, then a house with two home offices, because that's we're combining productive energy with the regular home's energy. Then a house with the pool, water element plays a large role in feng shui. Then an office in a corridor, very different energy on how we're calculating it versus freestanding business. And then a yoga studio in a strip mall, combining two different energies. So once those five case studies were completed, I was ready. So again, I tried to make this short, but that is how I got to where I am today in my journey of classical feng shui master.
Yeah. This is, I don't even know where to begin. I've got so many questions that I'm almost befuddled with them. Energy in the home, energy in our environments is essentially what Feng Shui is about. Let's get down to like actual brass tacks. Like if somebody had never heard of Feng Shui, how would you define it?
Feng Shui, in a simplified response, is align, making sure the energy in our spaces is aligned. Therefore, it can serve us, keep us grounded, serve us fully in our endeavors.
Yeah, because what I spent a summer in Hong Kong like 20, 30 years ago. And I remember being told that, all the buildings were designed in Hong Kong so that the dragons could come down from the mountain to the water, which is like big city-wide feng shui. I've also, picked up little things like, you shouldn't have the back of your bed head towards a window because then you're going to get attacked by the birds and the monkeys. There's a very nature-based. Is that classical or is that just little tidbits that as a Westerner I've picked up?
It's part of what we practice. Classical feng shui is very precise. It's a compass reading of where the energy is entering in the home. Is it entering at 121.4, 257.9? It depends on where it's entering from, what year the dwelling was born. It was when the four walls and the ceiling sealed the energy. It depends on the square footage and many other factors. Having said that, going back to your original part of the conversation about having the headboard under a window. Yes, in my practice, and especially in the Western world, I grew up here in Canada, and even though I'm Indian background, so I've combined. Then my training comes from spending time in China and getting that certification. So I've combined all of it together. We live where we live. So I try to, in my explanation, I try to keep it simple and relatable. So when you say a bed under a window, that means energetically, as we're sleeping, as you know, as being in the world of the chakras and aligning and everything is so important. We have our crown chakra,
Mm.
and in my practice, the way I explain it is energy as we're sleeping, 1/3 of our life, 8 hours a day, or we should be. Energy enters through the crown chakra and it serves us rest and rejuvenation. It escapes through our feet and it re-enters. If we don't have a solid backing as a solid wall behind us, we're not being served by supporting grounded energy. So the
Mm.
dragons and turtles and snakes, that has so much significance, but sadly in this day and age today, and I'm part of that scenario as well. It's not relatable to us. So I
Mm.
like to explain it in relatable terms.
Yeah, I mean using the dragons and the monkeys and so on, that's really symbolic terminology, isn't it? Really, it's a sort of symbolic of energy. And I think that what is really interesting is how the energy flows within a house and what things, for me, what I want to ask you really kind of annoying questions like what things are absolute no-nos, what things, but what you've already said is that it really depends on the building. It's very specific to the directions and placements of things. Is that the case? Because if we're trying to, for example, trying to create, like I'm in the middle of renovation, we're going to have two home offices because we both work from home. And my workspace, I want to be able to practice yoga, meditation, teach in there, be inspired, be on my laptop, record podcasts, all of these many things that I want to do. So, but, whereas my husband just wants to have a laptop, all his, files and so on, it'll be a very different thing there. He wants to have a good background. Well, I want to have a good background too, but, so that he can do Zoom calls and so on. So preparing it, but one's going to be downstairs, one's going to be upstairs. Like there's so many different so many different variables in this, whenever we're trying to create a space for ourselves. How do we go about intuiting what is right and is it can we trust our third eye with these things? Is it a little bit of intuitive? I mean, obviously the way that you practice Feng Shui is classical, but it also sounds really precise, which I love, because then we've got a little bit of that sort of I don't know, certainty, surety about it, when you've got that, like, actually I've done the sums and this is what I've found. What's your advice about sort of going for it in terms of trying to create a space that really serves the purpose and holds the energy that you want it to?
Great questions. We could have stopped 5 times, and I could have interrupted 5 times because your questions are so great. Having
Mm,
said that, I will try to do my best here. So first things first, you use the keyword intuitive. Okay,
mm,
so trust your intuition. It's your space. You're embedding your future goals in there, your desires, your dreams in there. So do trust your instincts, as you know firsthand, Roseanne, that it's something we build on. It trust Once we start to trust our intuition, it works with us in our favor. Stay connected to that, right? So, secondly, also it is, yes, it is, classical feng shui is very precise, and but leave that to the practitioners. You still have another layer which is within your space. One office is downstairs, one is upstairs, but within that office, within that space, you still can do many things, whether it's in the north or south.
mm,
So you see, we have two opportunities. One is the opportunity of where the bedroom is located and the kitchen is located. Is it in the south or the east or the north, or at what degree? That's something that the feng shui masters, classical feng shui masters, will be very precise in calculating. But within that space is what is there, what is blocking the energy, what is the color you're using. Is it too much red, too much fire energy, sparks flying? Therefore, in your practice, it would be, you won't be able to ground yourself. Too much water energy, emotional imbalance. And keeping grounding colors, crystals are very, serving. We use 8 in my practice. We don't talk about the other hundreds, because there's one for every area. Really be mindful of, when you're walking in, what is the feeling you're getting. Is there any sharp objects? That's a big no-no in feng shui. Make sure there's nothing sharp. Make sure things are flowing beautifully, because otherwise, you see, energies in each space. So let's talk about your space that you will create, okay? So that will be 100% full of energy.
mm,
Each drawer is 100%, the closet's 100%, the house is 100%, the car is 100%. It's never 90%, it's always 100% full of energy. How
mm,
much of that is healthy, serving energy, and how
mm,
much of it is working not so much in our favor? I hate to use strong words, so we'll just leave it at that.
mm,
So make sure that you're doing your part in trying to be mindful of what is in your space. As I said before, if it's something sharp, it would be piercing that energy. We don't endorse sharp angles. Anytime I have any of my construction clients, let's say they're adding a new island in the kitchen. Okay,
mm,
so and they have a choice now. Instead of a rectangular or square shape, we always say be mindful and curve the corners, curve the edges. Make sure there's a beautiful flow. If you have an option between a square or rectangular shaped window versus one that's maybe slightly rounded, then go for that. Chairs, furniture, belongings, colors, just artwork. It very important that it is of grounding energy, happy energy, something that warms our heart, something that we connect to when we see, not dark objects or somebody's back, against you, turning away from, that denotes turning away from opportunities, basically. So it's very symbolic. Feng Shui, there's a part that should be easy to connect with when somebody hears a Feng Shui master like myself elaborate on the basics. And then there's parts that are unique to the person. What a piece of an object or art might mean to you would be very different than what somebody else might connect to.
Yeah, yeah, it's um it's a brilliant way of thinking about your space. And I'm wondering whether there are like actual kind of like really simple techniques. So you say earthing. Now, for me, for example, the color green, I don't sort of, I wouldn't consider putting green into my house. I don't know why. I just find it kind of cool and I don't like it. I love green in nature. Like every color of green is beautiful, but I would rather go for sort of pinks and yellows and those kind of like sort of that I find uplifting. Whereas somebody else might go, no, I absolutely adore green and I want to have that in my house. So where does it become, where does the sort of the line between what's right for everybody and what's right for you, where does that, I mean, yeah, I get it with the sharp edges, that makes sense, but where does this, because for me a grounding color grounding is more like having natural things, like having wood and furniture, having sort of earthy tones. But for somebody else, it might be a different a different way. For some people, they might go, oh, earthy, well, that root chakra, red, maybe we'll do red. It's womb-like, it feels cozy. I've got this gorgeous, beautiful, dark red room, and I feel really safe in there, because it reflects that root chakra energy of safety and security. But you're saying, no, red is too fiery, but is it different on how you perceive it, how each individual perceives it?
Yeah, great question again. So, well, twofold again. One is, what is grounding as in general? Grounding, as you said, I mean, Mother Earth, right, grounds us. And we are lately becoming even more aware of the importance of grounding our energy by staying connected to Mother Earth. So, earth tones, right? We're talking light browns, medium earthy yellows, earthy greens, and so on. So that's one. Secondly, what you are I think, connecting to or referring to when you use the example as in, let's say, a warm red, somebody just really feels at home. So that is what we do. We calculate a personal trigram, and it is dependent, it's based on the blueprint from their date of birth, gender, and so on. So as an example, my trigram says that I'm earth and fire. Okay, so when I do any public speaking, when it's an important day for me, a very important day, and I need my energy supported 100%, like today is a normal day, you and I are conversing, right? But if it was something at a different level, you would see me wearing reds and browns. A lot of, I think, even my subconscious mind, I guess we were meant to have this conversation because today is one of the few days when I'm not wearing that color. So if you see my YouTube videos, or especially when I'm speaking in public, you will always see me wearing browns and reds. So I do gravitate towards that. So it's a balance of what is grounding in general for the home or the space, and what is considered grounding by the person that is using that element in their space. So that's why you might be leaning more towards red. So now when I use the example as red, because red resembles fire in Feng Shui in general. Okay, with the 5 elements in Feng Shui, red is fire. So having said that, when I refer to that example, what I'm emphasizing on is the fact that not too much of it. It doesn't mean you can't have, let's say, a very dark grounding sort of a red velvet sofa. Okay, that I mean, as soon as we talk about it, it sounds like, ooh, luxurious, right?
Yeah.
Having said that, what else is in the room? Are there any grounding elements? What is the carpet, the area rug, the cushions, the decor? Now, if everything was red, that would be too much fire energy. But if
Mm.
it's just one or two items that you're really connecting with, but then the rest of it, being mindful. Feng Shui is all about balancing the elements, all five
Yeah.
elements. Blue is water, green is wood, brown is earth tones, and gray and white are metals. So a balance.
Mm. Yeah, it's I find it really interesting because the Chinese and the Indian sort of traditions, they both use nature. You know, the chakras all have obviously earth, water, fire, wind, ether or sound and so on, and light. Whereas the Chinese tradition brings in wood and metal into the elemental aspects of things, which I always find really interesting. And now, when it comes to building, then obviously wood and metal are and earth are essentially, if we're talking bricks made of earth, the essential building bricks, if you like, of our environments. And our homes reflect so much of who we are. They give us so much of, I don't know, I mean, they represent safety. They represent our safe place, really. You know, it's like, oh, I'm home, thank goodness. I can let go. I can, kick my shoes off and be myself, and I don't have to. So it making our home environment feel safe and secure and comfortable and a place where we can really be ourselves, to me, is really important. So that's safety at the root, that's authenticity at the throat, and it's intuition, really, is just like I know, I can feel, I can relax here. So what are your if somebody is living in an environment and it may be that they're in a temporary place or a rented accommodation that's not theirs and it's not ideal, there's something of off in the energy, how does somebody go about creating a space that is more pleasurable to be in? What are the sort of top tips, if you like, to soften and make your environment feel better if it feels a bit off?
Yes, without giving real life examples, I can share with you exactly the reality of what you just asked. There's clients that are very intuitive, grounded, respectful to the realm of energy, but where they are in life might be starting early or just starting over. They're living in reality in a 500 square foot home, or some are still living in a parent's home, young adults, and but they have the awareness of their spaces. So all they really have is their bedroom, right?
Mm.
So, and then some are living in a studio apartment that's 500 square feet. And then the largest home that I feng shuied was 12,000 square foot in the US. And having said that, it is still their space, their sanctuary, their home. So I am the only feng shui master that I know of that puts so much emphasis into first making sure the energy is respected, grounded, keeping it clear, windows and doors open, doing the regular smoke rituals, using crystals, mindful practices. Feng Shui is a well precisely calculated tool that we place remedies according to where it's needed. But before I get there with my clients, I work on their spaces. So what you used as you said the word, I'm home. So important, so important. So I'm very mindful of what is right outside the front door. What is outside when they're stepping in, what is immediately inside, making sure they have a grounding mat, as simple as earth tones. The reason for that is takes literally 5 seconds, if not, if somebody doesn't want to spend more time, is ground your energy. I am home.
Mm.
Okay? Ground your energy outside out. And then now you're inside your sanctuary, and whatever that may look like, it doesn't, size does not denote the satisfaction and the connection with the energy of our homes. It does not. I downsized last year from a large home to we're empty nesters now, and it's still beautiful to me. It's a new opportunity for me to reconnect. So when somebody's doing renovations, really infuse your intention of where you are today, not 5 years or 10 years prior of what you had, or it doesn't matter. This is where you are today. There's a reason for it. Make this your sanctuary. Invite plant energy, crystals, grounding techniques, meditation, chakra balancing, so important. And then all of a sudden our mindset shifts, and we're on to mindful living.
Yeah, because what we really want is that, I mean, when I come at this from a chakra point of view, we want our home environments to balance, to help us to keep our chakra energy in balance. Um, and I want to, I suppose that if somebody is aware of where they have imbalance, are they able to use the home environment to find and rebalance? Um, I don't know. I'm just really fascinated by the sometimes you walk into a space and you go, oh, this is feels off. There's something that feels unpleasant about this, or it just and then there's also that thing where people feel one of the things, sorry, I'm being really scattered because there's so many questions in my mind at the moment, but I'm gonna focus on this one because I feel like this is something that people, when they talk about feng shui, this comes up a lot, is feng shui for abundance in the house. So for wealth generation, for, to so that we're not draining money. So these are all kind of little tales that I've heard. So like things like um leaving the toilet lid open, like, or money just disappears down the toilet. um if you've got a front door and then immediately a corridor that goes down the middle of the house, and then there's a window or a back door, and so the energy just goes straight through. um Having mirrors in certain places will, like if you had a mirror right in front of your front door, that would reflect your abundance back out again. Like, is there any in your mind, is there any validity in your practice for those kind of ideas, I suppose?
Yeah, actually, that is the basics of it. That is, and yes, I do agree with that. And there's a reason for everything. Energy escapes, energy comes and energy goes. And what type of energy do we want to keep inside our spaces and keep it grounded and to serve us and be respectful to it? And what type of energy we don't want to invite in or retain in our spaces, as in clutter, sharp objects, items that have a negative memory attached to it, and so on. So, what you shared as far as mirrors, doors aligning the front and the back, stairs going right out the front door, stairs right towards the front door, it does denote energy escaping. Some of it, sure, but the other part of it, positive energy, abundant energy, also escapes. Having said that, in classical feng shui, and especially in my practice, this is the very basics of it, maybe 2%. But there's a
Mm.
lot more to it, that we shift what isn't working in a home. As in, okay, so let's say you have a person that is in one of those scenarios where the front and the back is aligning, or stairs are going out in the door, which is structural adjustments if it need
Oh,
be.
yeah.
There's something very similar. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Indian background. There's something very similar in India. There's other modalities too that will tell you what it is, and then that's it. Now you know what you know, and naturally, it's not really something you wanted to know about your home. But in classical feng shui, you'll catch me hearing often about, in classical feng shui, there's a remedy for almost everything. Okay, I
Mm.
don't make the clients move out. I don't make them sell off large pieces of furniture or knock down some walls or something. There are
Yeah,
remedies, they're
you can't
gentle.
change a staircase. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, I don't want to be walking in and giving them my feedback on what is, collecting my payment and leaving. Meantime, what have I done? I have one, created fear. So they
Yeah.
will either live in there knowing what they know, which is the opposite of what somebody wants to get a feng shui consultation done for. Or secondly, they will then say, well, I guess we will move, but then we live in the Western world where we don't have options of finding a perfect feng shui friendly home unless somebody's building on a plot in the middle of a farmland or something where they can put a door a certain direction and a kitchen in a certain direction and a bathroom. So
Mm.
I'm very mindful of my findings, how I share them, and immediately providing gentle but doable remedies.
Mm. So I know in the UK, in London, for sure, there are thousands and thousands of Victorian houses, terraced houses, where you come in the front door and there's the stairs go up that way. Then you walk past the stairs, you go into the back, there's the kitchen, you've got the sitting rooms off to one side in where the stairs aren't. And that is the way that so many houses are built. So say, for example, you had that, what would be a fix? Because you can't change the staircase in an old terrace house like that. I mean, so what do you do? How do you fix something that's that's an obvious issue?
Yeah, when a client submits a questionnaire, we have digital questionnaires. They're very easy to complete online. But when I'm reviewing that questionnaire, almost always I know where this is probably the layout. That's why this has happened for the last 5 years or 10 years or so on. So having said that, I would have to evaluate. But generally speaking, grounding that energy so it's not escaping. There's very simple ways of doing it. I pride myself because I guess I think it's because I grew up in the Western world since I was 13, but I also have an eye for decor. And I pride myself when I recommend the remedies, they're beautifully disguised into the decor. There is nothing, no other foreign object sticking out. It's a feng shui remedy, but it's blended into their decor. And that's very important. The subconscious mind needs to know why that remedy is placed when you're going from point A to point B in a home, but it should not be like, oh, I wish that wasn't there. That's really an eyesore. It should be the opposite of, I love it. I know this is placed for my abundance. This is placed for my health. This is placed for love and relationship, children, creativity, new beginning. There's 9 sectors in feng shui. And so I'm mindful of what is placed. It is a feng shui remedy, but that the subconscious mind needs to love it and honor it and respect it. So plants play a big role in grounding that energy that with the examples we just shared. Crystals play a large role, and sometimes it's not always about placing the remedy. It's actually removing what might be in the space. Most of my consultations are virtual around the world. We walk around. Some of my Google reviews have said from around the globe that Meena knew our home more than we did. And because I don't leave any areas unturned, I need to see what is in their space, what could have been causing that health issue. It's really as simple as making some adjustments. But again, Roseanne, we only know what we know, right?
Mm.
So we do our part, mind, body, and soul. The one part that I'm trying my hardest to bring awareness in the Western world is, let's also be mindful of the spaces that house us. And then therefore, we will work on ourselves, we will work on physically the diet, the subconscious mind, the emotional balance, but let's also be mindful of the energy in this space. And that's where feng shui and energy clearing come in.
Mm. Yeah, no, I love what you said about that sort of mindset, and also the fact that, people have lots of different issues that they are. So, just to take one of the ones that you said about, you know, just which one shall I choose? Abundance. Let's, because we've used that theme before. And if someone's, going, oh, I've been working really hard and I'm trying to create, abundance for myself. There could be an abundance of love and beautiful relationships, or it could be abundance of, filling up the bank account, whatever that is. Um, and it's just not working for me. Maybe there's something going on in the house. I feel like once you've got that thought in your head and you go, actually, the reason why X or Y isn't working for me in my life is because there's some unhealthy flow within the house, within the feng shui of the house. And so doing this work to work out what is and placing in these objects will change the person's mindset to such a great degree that the flow will come. And it's almost like yeah, I don't want to I was going to say placebo effect, but it's not, because the energy really does flow in a house. Like every wall, especially, in the UK, like I've just bought living in a house that I'm not living in it yet, but renovating a house that was built in 1832, and it was an old rectory. So it's been lived in by church rectors, vicars, for the entirety of its life. We're the first people to live in it who are not church people, you know. And so the energy of the house feels good to me, but like I know that there's been a thousands of conversations that have gone on in that house, where somebody in the village has been troubled, or has, always coming to talk about their upcoming nuptials, or, having issues with, or coming to deal with the grief of losing a family member, whatever. They've come to this building for some comfort or for some reason, usually quite big. If you're going to go to to the rector and have a chat, it's quite a big. So I'm very conscious that there's an energy in the house. I don't know exactly, it feels like it's a friendly energy, a comforting energy. But I think everybody's the history of a building is a fascinating thing to take on. The energy that is exuded in a house is held, in my view, and I'd be interested to hear for you, it's held in the bricks, it's held in the makeup of the walls, in the glass that's in the windows, in the wood that holds the glass. Energetically it's still all there. And so sometimes it's a holding energy that feels good, and other times it's a bossy energy. I've lived in a bossy house in my life. It was like always bossing me around. It's like, oh, leave me alone. I want to get on with my life. Don't boss me around. Um, so yeah, I just want to get your opinion on the historic houses and what they hold, because a lot of people live in old houses and they're very sought after. It's a nice thing to live in a beautiful old house, traditionally built, etc. But
Mm-hmm. No,
the history.
you're one of the few conversations that we're having right now where you've actually shared a real life scenario, which is great because this is exactly what I bring to my clients' home. And in North America, houses, when we say old, are only 40, 50 years old. So, but even then, as you said, that energy is in the wall, ceiling, paint, carpet, furnishings, and Mother Earth that was supporting all of that.
Yeah.
So that is definitely there. I could write a couple of books on my experience of what I have found, not just in person, but virtually too, of when I'm releasing the energy. It's like who sat in that corner, or what is in that cabinet, that third drawer down. There's something in there waiting to be released, waiting to be freed up. It might be something somebody gave to them, a negative emotion attached to it, something that's broken that they thought about disposing but haven't yet. So again, energy, just the way you described it, from that extent all the way to something simple in a drawer, when it is in our space, it is not serving us to move forward. The best example I give is I call it an energetic dance. Okay, somebody has to take that first step. So as I said before, every space is 100%. So let's say that there is some heavy energy, but most of it is serving, let's say in your case. Okay, so when you do an energy clearing practice and you release that stagnant energy that may have been built up in the walls, as an example, you are now creating 5%, 15, 20% of the space for the universe to serve you of the intention that you have set for your upcoming home after the renovation is completed. Walls, as you are very aware of, the brick, the cement, the concrete, the foundation, it does hold on to it. It has memory, it has its own memory. And as I said before, I'm the only Feng Shui practitioner that I know that puts so much emphasis on freeing up the space before we can count on the Feng Shui energy to support us. So free up that space, do regular energy clearing rituals, and be grateful, express gratitude to Mother Earth. I'll share another simple example with you. Sometimes my construction clients reach out and they're building a new home, but it's not in a new subdivision. It is in an area where there was another older home on the lot.
Mm.
Okay, they've
Yeah.
basically demolished it and they're constructing a new home. I am very mindful in my ritual in that case to express continuous gratitude to Mother Earth and ask for Mother Earth's permission to reconstruct on it and put more weight on it. It is all a mindful gratitude practice. The more we're grateful for something in life, even in general, the more we receive. It's a simple way of living. So going back to your scenario, yes, it's a good thing that house called you, where you are mindful of all these things, and you will do your part as to continuously renew the energy. And that when I say renew the energy, you don't have to hire, in your case, because you have the awareness, you don't have to hire somebody professionally to do so. You can do it yourself. For some, it's the practices of smudging with sage. For some, it's the rituals. For some, it's the mantras, ringing bells, incense.
Yeah.
Just be mindful of how it is, but do the ritual.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because whenever I go into a new space to teach a yoga class, so I've just started teaching in a new space, I will take my singing bowl in, I will ding, 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 and then I will sing as well. So I'll just start singing whatever, noise notes come up. And I will always say to the space, thank you for holding me and thank you for holding space for us. And then the room sort of looks after me. And it's something that I just do instinctively and I don't know why, but I will greet a room, go, hello room, it's like a really yeah, it's wonderful that you said that because it's a real sort of affirmation that actually following my instincts with this, and as I sure lots of other people will recognize that, and especially people who teach, the teachers who are listening to this, I'll go, yeah, I do that too. And sometimes you go into like I don't like teaching yoga in a gym, in like a space where there's somebody next door lifting weights and puffing and huffing on a machine or just pounding on a, treadmill or something. I mean, all
Mhm.
power to them. I don't mind people doing that, of course not. But the energy isn't right, isn't for me. It
Yeah,
just
there's
doesn't.
a time for everything. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's okay to be pumping weights and that's physical, that's fitness, right? So, but right now we're talking about spiritual fitness.
Yeah,
So two different
exactly.
things. It's as simple as, okay, parking that thought, going into what are you doing now? Now you're focusing on meditation, yoga, and switching the thought so it can serve us fully. We can pay respect to all different modalities, but there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah, I love this. And it's interesting because I was, I've got like three questions to ask you. We kind of covered them all, um, really. But one of the things I've written down was, simple feng shui to promote your space to be how you want it to be. But I feel like you've already answered that question for me because it's all for you. It feels to me like it's just grounding is what is important. So if somebody works in an open plan office and they just have a desk and it's their space and they spend, however many hours of the day sitting in this little space in this office block, surrounded by other people and other people's energies, like what can you do? Like, is just taking a plant in, taking a crystal in, is that enough to kind of ground your space? I mean, I'm guessing that that's probably is. You can't go in with a sage stick
Yeah,
into the
that's
office.
a good start. I have a couple of blogs on my site on office feng shui that elaborate a little bit more in detail. But having said that, it is not just that time you're at your desk. This is a way of living. This is a holistic way of living. And I teach feng shui vision board courses where a lot of people will put focus on the career sector or
Mm,
abundance, as you shared earlier. Those are usually the top ones when we get initially connected, but it's all interconnected. How is your energy when you're waking up? What is the 5-minute ritual that you did, if not longer? What is the last thought that's in your mind that's going to germinate over the next 8 hours while you're sleeping?
mm,
It's a whole approach. It's a lifestyle shift, and the more grounded you are when you're sitting at your desk in that crowded office, the more grounded you will stay. Life will happen, whether it's in the office or in real life or family scenarios. It's how grounded are you so that those incidents can't sway you.
yeah. Oh, it sounds like you've got some amazing resources on your website, and I'm so grateful for your wisdom. And it's really inspiring talking to you. And I feel sort of, I don't know, I feel more confident now having talked to you. I was like, oh, maybe there's sort of special tricks and technique, and there is, I can see that there's some really technical side of it. And there's a part of me that would, once I've kind of finished with this renovation, is I would love to have you take a look around it. But in the meantime, can you tell people how they can get hold of you and how they can find these resources that you have?
Yes, it's all on our website, momentumfengshui.com. We keep
Okay.
it simple. All the links are on there. The places I've spoken on, last one was ABC Network, and my resources. We have free ebooks, we have blogs, and one of the simplest ways, if somebody does use Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, I post regularly. I give content to my staff. We post 3 to 4 times a week. It's my way of giving back. Simple tips, doable, actionable tips, keeping them small and simple, but most importantly effective. Because for every one person that asks that question, there's many others that can benefit. So we share regularly.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is. It's a really important that those of us who work in the energy field share our wisdom, share our knowledge as much as possible so that it gets out there. And I love that. So thank you so much, Meena. It has been an absolute joy talking to you. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface in terms of things that I want to ask you, but they're far too personal. So I won't go there. But you've been a star. So thank you. Thank you so much, Meena.
Thank you for the opportunity. This has been amazing. Any chance I get to spread the word on feng shui and the powers of energy, I show up and thank you again.
Thank you.